Imagine this. You're alone on a stretch of highway where the world ends at the edge of your headlights. The kind of place where help is hours away and the night swallows everything. But what if the darkness wasn't the only thing watching you? What if something out there decided you were the one it wanted? Let me take you back to that night. It was 5 years ago today, but it might as well have been yesterday. I was behind the wheel of my rig, the engine humming steady like it always does. I'd been driving trucks since 2010, crisscrossing the country through every kind of weather and terrain you can think of. Mountains that scrape the sky, snow that blinds you, deserts that bake your bones during the day and freeze them at night. I'd pulled over on shoulders so remote, the only company was the wind whispering through the cracks in the door. Nights like that, you learn to trust your gut. And on this run, heading west from El Paso toward California, my gut was screaming. It was well past midnight. The desert out there in West Texas is a different beast after dark. No city glow, no stars if the clouds are thick. Just this heavy, pressing silence that makes your ears ring. I was rolling along I-10, the road straight as an arrow, nothing but sand and scrub brush on either side. My cab was lit by the dash lights, soft green glow on the gauges. Coffee in the cup holder, gone cold hours ago. Radio tuned to some staticky station, playing old country tunes just to fill the void. Everything felt routine, the way it does on those long hauls where the miles blur together. Then up ahead, I spotted it. A Ram truck, pulled off on the shoulder. Lights on, engine idling, exhaust puffing faintly in the cool air. No one moving inside that I could see. Just sitting there like it was waiting for something, or someone. I eased past, glancing in my mirrors as I did. And that's when it started. The Ram's headlights flicked brighter, and it pulled out smooth onto the highway right behind me. Not casual, not like some driver shaking off a nap. It locked in tight, hugging my trailer closer than any sane person would. At first, I thought maybe it was nothing. Road rage happens, or some kid messing around. But here's the thing. Out there, in the middle of nowhere, little things start to feel off. He stayed glued to me for miles. 5, 10, creeping up to 20. Every time he'd edge into the left lane like he wanted to pass, I'd drift over just enough to block him. Not aggressive, but firm. I wasn't letting him get ahead, because deep down I knew if he pulled in front and slammed on his brakes, or worse, swung sideways across the lanes, I'd be done. My rig doesn't stop on a dime. I'd plow right into him or swerve off into the ditch. And then, out there alone, no witnesses, no lights, no cell signal worth a damn. Just me and whatever was in that truck. My hands were slick on the wheel, sweat beading despite the chill seeping through the windows, heart thumping loud enough I could feel it in my throat. The desert wind picked up a bit, whistling against the side of the cab. I kept checking the mirrors, those headlights staring back like eyes in the dark. No other cars around, not a soul. It was just us, playing this twisted game on an empty road. I remember thinking, if this goes south, if I hear a pop like a gunshot through the glass, I'd use the trailer. Swing it wide, make sure he didn't walk away. Survival mode kicks in like that, sharp and cold. Those 20 miles dragged on forever. Every curve in the road, and there aren't many out there, felt like a chance for him to make a move. But he didn't. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, his lights started to dim. He dropped back, farther and farther, until they vanished into the black behind me. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding, shook my head, tried to laugh it off. Just some weirdo, I muttered to myself. The radio crackled back to life with a song I didn't recognize. I cranked it up, trying to drown out the adrenaline still buzzing in my veins. Thought that was the end of it. But nights like that don't let go so easy. I kept rolling, putting distance between me and whatever that was. The highway stretched on, flat and unforgiving. About 50 miles later, that's when it hit. Psh! A sharp hiss, like the air getting sucked out of the world. Air leak. My gauges dropped, warning lights flashing red. Stomach twisted into a knot. No choice but to pull over. I eased the rig onto the shoulder, tires crunching on gravel. Killed the engine, and suddenly, the silence rushed in. Thick. Absolute. No traffic humming by, no distant horns, just the wind scraping across the sand, and my own breathing, ragged in the quiet. I sat there for a minute, staring out the windshield. The desert night pressed against the glass, so dark my flashlight beam barely scratched it. I grabbed my tools from the compartment, stepped out into the cold. The air hit me like a slap, dry, biting, carrying that faint scent of dust and creosote bushes. My boots hit the ground with a thud that echoed too loud. I circled around to the trailer, the flashlight cutting a thin path through the shadows. Every bush looked like a shape hunched low, every gust of wind like footsteps creeping up. It should have been a quick fix. Airline issue, nothing I hadn't handled a dozen times before. But out there, alone, 15 minutes felt like hours. I knelt down, wrench in hand, the metal cold against my skin. Sweat trickled down my back despite the chill. Kept glancing up at the mirrors, expecting those Ram headlights to bloom in the distance. What if he was still out there, circling back, waiting for me to stop? The thought gnawed at me, turning every distant rumble, maybe thunder, maybe nothing, into something worse. My mind raced. Tools scattered on the ground, vulnerable. If he showed up now, engine off, no way to run. Just the dark and whatever he had planned. No cars passed, not one. The highway was a ghost town, miles of empty asphalt under a moonless sky. I tightened the last fitting, tested the line. Air held. Climbed back into the cab, hands shaking as I turned the key. The engine roared to life, a sound that never felt so good. I pulled out slow, tires gripping the pavement, accelerating until the speed built up. But I didn't relax. Not really. Kept my eyes glued to those mirrors, scanning the horizon behind me. The night dragged on, endless, until finally the first hints of dawn cracked the sky, pink and gold bleeding in from the east. I made it to California that run, unloaded, turned around for the next haul. But that night stuck with me. 5 years later, and I still drive those same routes. Through the mountains, the storms, the cities that buzz all night. But every time I hit that stretch near El Paso after dark, I feel it. That prickle on the back of my neck. I watch the mirrors a little closer, listen to the silence a little harder, because some roads don't forget, and neither do I. Out there in the desert, the dark has a way of remembering your name.